We hear a lot about Sabbath throughout the Bible. It's already came up in Exodus when God gives it to the people. It's included in the Ten Commandments. These big summary things that He gives for them for rules for living, and that's included. Um, it's one of those very important things to God to take the Sabbath at the very beginning when God creates the world. Lots of people say, "Oh, He created things for 6 days, and then on the seventh He didn't." No, I always say on the seventh day God created rest. And He creates that so that we know that it's dependent on Him, that we don't have to keep going. We don't need to just continue through the hustle and bustle of life and continue to say, "Oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this." No, we can stop and spend time with God because God is the one who actually makes everything work. God is the one we're dependent on, not ourselves. And we need to be reminded of that early and often. That's why God says every 7 days do this. Every 7 days, just stop and be with me. Stop and be reminded that it's all on my shoulders, not on your shoulders. That God is going to take care of us. God is the one who truly provides for us and takes care of those things. And so Sabbath is mentioned a lot, but in the book of Leviticus, Sabbath is just the beginning. That's just one part of how God wants to teach the people of Israel this, how He wants them to remember that it's really not all about them, it's all about Him. That it's all dependent on Him, and it all really belongs to Him anyway. So not only does He tell them to observe the Sabbath every 7 days, but He also gives them a couple other things. He tells them every 7 years that the land should get a rest, that the land that they planted their crops in and that they harvested their food from, that every 7 years, don't do that. Don't plant, don't harvest. Just let the land have rest for a year. And obviously that triggers some things like, wait, if I'm not planting food and harvesting food for a whole year, God, how am I supposed to eat? What are we supposed to have? And in Leviticus 25, He answers them very clearly. In fact, he calls out their question. They don't even say it. God says, it's kind of this like, I can already hear your question, guys. Here's what you're going to ask. And here's the answer I have for it, right? It's that in the 6th year, God promises, He goes, that 6th year, I'm going to give you 3 times as much. I'm going to give you so much more so that it's going to be enough to last you not only through the 7th year, but it's going to be enough to last you through the next year while you're planting those crops. So that it's not until that harvest of that 8th year, when the 8th years turn into the 9th year, that food will finally run out. It's very reminiscent of what God says about manna while the people are wandering through the desert. At the same time, the same thing He's already told these people that they're experiencing on a daily, weekly basis, that God provides manna every morning. Don't get more than you need because it'll go bad by the next day, except on the 6th day. And that 6th day, gather twice as much because you're not going to get any on the 7th day, but I'll make it last. See, every other day, it'd be bad by morning. But that day, God makes it last. And He's telling them the same thing's going to happen every 7 years to your crops. That everything will still be good for that whole year. That whole 7th year, you'll have plenty to eat, and I'll even give you so much, and it'll stay good all the way through planting until you harvest that 8th year. It'll all be there. So He tells them to give the land a rest every 7 years to remind them, once again, I'm the provider. I'm the one taking care of you. You don't do this on your own. But He even goes a step further and says every 7 of 7 years, every group of 7 years, count those out, 49 years for those of you math challenged folks out there. And there's some debate whether God was telling them to do this in the 49th year or in the 50th year. Most translations that I've read indicate 50th, that you did that for 7 years. The 7-year thing, you did that 7 times. And then the 50th year was a special year. It's called the year of Jubilee. See, when Joshua and the people will eventually go into the land, and remember, this is several years before that even happens, but God's already making plans. God's already setting up how things are going to be when they get there. Joshua, though, divides up the land among the people. They had specific areas. They named specific things. This is for this tribe, and these cities belong to them, and this area belongs to them. And God tells them here, this year of Jubilee, that every 50 years, everything's going to revert back to just like that. That whatever has been sold, whatever land has been traded between people, whatever has changed, we're going to wipe the slate clean and everything goes back. In fact, He even gives them ways to measure it out. If it's the year before the year of Jubilee, you don't pay full price. You only pay for like a year's worth of using that land. Same thing applied to servants and slaves and things, that people that sold themselves basically into service, that, I'll give myself to you, I'll work for you, you pay me. It's much more akin to having a job than being a slave in the case of Hebrews employing each other. But same thing. In the year of Jubilee, all those people went free. You sent them all home. They went back to their home. It was a total reset of their entire kind of economic structure of the people of Israel. And why would God do that? Because he wants them to remember that it's about him. As he literally says in Leviticus in chapter 25, he says, it all belongs to me. The land's all mine. I'm just letting you guys use it. So don't think that you just get to buy and sell this as if it really belongs to you and if it's all yours. It's all mine, and I'm letting you use it. I'm giving this to you to help provide for you, but I want to remind you that it is me who provides it. I want to remind you that it is all about me and it is all mine, and you're just getting to use it. That everything belongs to me and not to you. And at first, some people that might kind of set you on edge. Like, well, I mean, I want to be able to take care of myself. I need some things that are mine. Why's God got to do that? I can do some stuff. God doesn't want you becoming dependent on yourself. God didn't want people amassing these massive amounts of stuff so they can say, oh, look, I have all of this and this all belongs to me. I don't need any help from anyone, including God. He wants them to remember. He wants them to know that they are truly dependent on him. Because they are, whether they think they are or not, whether we think we are or not, we are dependent on God for the very air that we breathe right now. It all comes from him. It all belongs to him. None of it happens without him. And God wants us to remember that. That's what the year of Jubilee was about. That's what every 7 years of rest for the land was about. That's what the Sabbath was about reminding us that it's not all dependent on us, that it's all dependent on God, and that we can trust him to take care of us. Love you guys. See you soon.